Welcome to the Kiefer's Hot Rod Shop YouTube channel. I'm Nick Kiefer. I'm starting to populate all the rear suspension stuff in the Nova. So today let's take a look at these lower links for the 4-link rear suspension. The materials for these are actually part of a kit that I got from Tim McAmis. Everything's really nice and super beefy, and this should be a really strong pair of links here. So I'm going to show you all kind of the process I went through to bring them together and weld them up. I've yet to build the uppers. I want to get the axle housing in the car so that I can measure exactly how long the upper links need to be before I cut the materials and make those. But for now, I'll show you all everything I did to make these lower links. So I've been messing around with the materials for the rear 4-link suspension components here, and I use this drill marking jig from Tim McAmis to set up the drill press and poke rosette holes in this link here. And I'm about to go ahead and cut this piece to length to fit these ends in it. And I've just been measuring everything, just confirming that that's where I want to cut it. I've decided I'm going to give it a total of a 1/4 inch on either side unscrewed, which adds up to a total of a 1/2 inch that I can shorten the link if I need to, just for setting up rear steer potentially, or if the tire needs some more clearance in the rear for some odd reason or anything like that. And so I'm just I've got the tube marked here, and I'm about to set it up in the cold saw and go ahead and cut that to length. And then what I'll do is I'll dress the end on the belt sander and give it a bevel so that it forms a V-notch like I've formed on this one for weld penetration when I go to weld that. Got the cold saw set up here, and I'm going to go ahead and cut this tube to length. There we go. All right, that is a beefy looking link. Cool. I'm kind of showing with the measuring tape here. I'm building this 21 inches center to center. This length is kind of at the suggestion of the guys over at 10 Soldier Race Cars. Typically, their small tire brackets are they're made for a 20-inch arm, but they're saying if you're pushing, a little more power, then maybe mid 1000s, you could step up in length a little bit. And I just called them on the phone one day, and that's kind of what they're saying. So I figured, I'll do a 21, pretty good length, and honestly, if need be, I can suck it down to like a 20.5 with the adjustment I have built into it. And as long as the tire cleared in the chassis, it might look a little funny, but it might separate a little more dramatically. But I think with good shocks and proper setup, just about anything can work. It's just kind of you establish the range that you're working within. But this thing looks beefy and good, and I'm going to go ahead and set it up in the drill press and poke holes like this, this set of holes in there, mark it with this little 3D printed jig there, and I'll show you all kind of how that looks going through the process. Right, cool, so here's just kind of how it sets up on the end of the tube, the little marking jig. I already marked this side, and it's really handy. I think you can use it to kind of guide the drill bit, but it's 3D printed plastic, so It's not going to hold the bit or anything. I've got the drill press set up, so I'm using this to mark it. And they say that it sets it at an optimal depth for these threaded adapters here. So just marking it out, take it over to the drill press and poke these holes. All right, cool. I've got this set up in the drill press here, and I'm going to poke through both sides with the same throw, and I've got everything marked out as I showed before. I might have to set up, this thing is a little loose. It's an older one, so kind of have to work with it, but drill it through real nice. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm talking about. It wants to walk, so I'm just gonna correct that a little bit, and should be good to go. All right. Yeah, I got this thing set to 500 RPM. Just read the old cover to the belts up there, and so just saying for I think it said stainless steel, which is what I'll go off of for something like Chromoly. It's a hard material, and never really hurts to go a little slower than just regular steel. Let's see. Kind of look across this thing, make sure. Definitely always lubricate your bit and metal when you're drilling. It'll make the bit last 10 times as long. Makes a little bit of a mess, but I like to keep a rag around just for that purpose. You see it's got, metal shavings all in it and stuff, so be careful with it, but it's kind of part of the deal. Most of y'all probably know that. Alright, so now I've got it dimpled. I'm going to roll it back. I measured this, and I think it's pretty well centered in the vise, but maybe it's not. Hard to say, but this is just kind of what I've been having to do with the this drill press to get these holes straight through the metal. A little bit more fine tuning would probably be good. So I'm going to roll it back just a touch. But big thing is make sure these holes are just through here. I mean, it really doesn't matter that much, just for looks. And I guess strength, honestly. I like them to be even. Alright, cool. And just like that, we've got 8 holes in this thing, technically. And, or actually, sorry, 4. I've got to do the other side still, but we got 4 holes in it. And now I'm going to set up for the other side and go ahead and poke them through. It's not horribly critical if they're timed with the other side or anything like that. Not that I know of anyway, but just for looks and consistency. I want them to be set up kind of symmetrically, if you will. There you go. Just getting it just right. I don't want to stress the drill bit. Just want it to go through nice and happily right through the center. So I got a little bit on the got a little bit out of sync on the x-axis here, so bear with me while I mess with this. All right. Looks like it should do all right. All right, cool. Next here. All right, great. All right, excellent. Now we've got all 8 holes in these, and next I'll deburr them. All right, cool. And to deburr it, and I just use a this countersinking tool. Just stick it in there and do a little bit, and it makes a nice little deburr. Wipe it off. There you go. Don't want to take too much off of it because this material is needed for completing the weld. It's going to go through them. But I will take this half-round file and go inside and just make sure all the burrs on the inside are cleaned off, just so that the rod end will slide in there. there's a lot of dust in there, and it's a very tight fit, so I don't want to just jam it in right now, but it's looking good. All right, cool. Here it is all set up. And again, to that 21-inch length. Got everything drilled and cleaned up and chamfered and deburred. I just need to do final cleanup and just set it all up for welding. I won't have the ends in it when I weld it, just so I don't cook them. Stoked to weld everything up, and just got to cut this one and drill one side and match them up. Got it all cut to length and chamfered. Now just have to poke the holes in this side, since I already did that side, and be ready to clean up and weld. Alright, let's poke this. Can't tell if it's off center or if it's just kind of walking off of the crown of the tube there, but keep having to rotate it back a little bit. That's alright, make it work. Put a little more of that on there. Set up for perpendicular set of holes. So let's see it. Alright, cool. Just gotta clean them up. Alright, cool. It's looking good. Now I just need to clean the inside up with that file. I believe this file's got about a 1 3/8 diameter curve to it. And after that, just clean it up with some sandpaper. I use 180 on pretty much anything like this. Just seems to work nicely and leaves a good finish. Stick it in there and use my thumb to kind of sand it. Then it looks pretty nice in there. Wipe it out and stick the tube adapter in. Fits right in there nicely. It's a nice tight fit on these. That's really good. That's going to keep it true while I weld it, and that way it won't be kind of angled off to one side all said and done. And keeping everything axial and straight is the strongest configuration it can be. Any kind of curve or deflection will just increase the likelihood of buckling or bending under compressive load. So looks good, and about time to weld these together. Alright, so what I'm working on right now is I'm just dimpling the tube adapters down in the holes just to help the rosette welds, or plug welds if you call them that. Some people call rosette welds plug welds, or vice versa. Just to help those penetrate. It's something that Tim McAmis mentioned on his video on 4 links, and talking about his kits. The thing is that these sleeves are pretty thick, so he was just saying that it helps penetrate, and also he likes to look through after they're welded and just see a little deformation on the inside of this, just to verify that the weld is penetrated. But I'm just going through and dimpling them. I've got them taped so that they stay indexed and don't kind of go off time there. But just working on that, and then final cleanup, and I'll start welding these guys. Alright, got everything cleaned up. Pulled everything apart and cleaned the insides, and cleaned all those dimples and holes out. I've kind of got my sides marked just to keep everything indexed through the process, and now it's time to melt some metal and weld these guys together. Alright, so I've got this set up on this piece of aluminum here, simply because aluminum is really conductive and it's going to make a nice ground path. Also keeps it elevated and off the table, and allows me to roll this when it's time to like weld this rotational weld, and just to arrange it for all these other rosette welds here. But I'm going to try this first rosette weld. Tim McAmis on his video didn't really suggest where to start, but he talked about doing the rosette welds first, and I kind of like that idea because it pulls the tube adapter to the weld. Just because in general, as welds cool, they shrink, and that'll pull it up against the wall of the tubing. Just that tiny little fraction of a thousandth of an inch of play it has. It's a very tight fit. It's nice, but got a tiny bit of play, and it'll pull that up against the wall of the tubing and hopefully keep it really straight and axial. So I'm going to start with this, and just make sure that little dimple I drilled is right down in the center there, and go ahead. I'm going to heat up all the metal, try to get it welded together, and then I will add some of this ER70S2 in there just to fill that area. I've got the TIG machine set up to 150 amps, 120 wall, so I'm thinking that should be good. If I need a little more, I can crank it up, but I think that's a good starting place. And I'd get pretty pedal happy, so I don't want to sit here and just burn this thing, but let's see how it goes. Alright, that went really poorly because I did not purge my line of air. Alright, let's try this one out. Alright, so I took that one in a couple little steps, and with the second one being just to cap the weld off to make it even. I'm not really getting much melt on the tube adapter before it wants to start fizzing for some reason. It must just be getting enough oxygen through there. It must be drawing that up and just oxidizing the weld prematurely. So it required filler to clean all that up. But I'm going to continue around, and also I'm going to check inside of this thing and just kind of see if it's penetrating at all, this weld. It's hard to tell. Might be getting a little color. Just kind of looking down at, like. Well, anyway, I'm going to continue on. I mean, it is attached. But we'll see. I'm going to clean this previous attempt out and try to weld that up. And this still needs a little bit more filler. Amperage wise, I might crank it up a little and see how it does, just to kind of try to get the ball rolling a little quicker. Alright, I cleaned this other one out. I've got it turned up to 176 amps, and I'm just going to see what I can do. I'm going to put a little filler in there, try to clean it up, and see if I can get it nice and penetrated. Fill it full of argon first. There we go. I wouldn't say ideal, but it seems like, I put like a little bit of filler in there. It seems like I was able to get it a little hotter. I see a little bubble, which to me, I mean, that's plenty on something this thick. I'm going to cap it off. Still seeing some of the original hole, so I don't want that. That's a lot of amps. but it's a lot of metal too, so I think it's doing pretty well. It's a completely different mode welding this thick stuff as compared to thinner stuff. Kind of get used to one or the other, and moving back and forth is always interesting. Alright, so, you know, obviously I've got a lot of heat in there and it's warm, so I think what I want to do is let this cool, and I'm gonna switch. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and weld this side, give it a shot here, and hopefully get some really good penetration. And just to be sure, I'm going to go ahead and wipe this off to make sure there's no dust or anything on it. And actually, let me actually put some acetone in here. Towel pieces or anything. That end is hot as hell. Alrighty. Wow, it's like hot there and decent there. That's crazy. Alright. I'll give it a shot. Then we'll let this cool and I'll work on the other one. Alright, so I was able to go down in there and really melt the metal on the tube adapter itself. And I added a little bit of filler just to keep it clean. You know, for some reason, filler metal just, I think it has to do with the actual metallurgy of the filler metal. It just helps to keep a weld from oxidizing prematurely. It's definitely on there, but I'm going to try to look in there and see. Yeah, so let's see. Well, at the very least, I'm seeing color. You know, it got hot in there, so. I'm going to weld this one and then let this, I'll probably cap them off. And then just make sure everything's nice and filled up, and then we'll let it cool. Switch to the other one. That one started to oxidize a little bit, so I just kind of puddled or jammed the filler in there to clean up the puddle. And you can see it's had some heat in it. Let's see. Yeah, there's color in there. I'm seeing just a little bit of deformation. So that technique seems to work pretty well. Want to make sure I cap those off. Don't leave a crater. Nice and even. Yeah, and this tube's starting to get warm, so I'm going to let it cool. And just switch to the other one. Alright, let's go ahead and get started on this one. It's all cleaned up and ready to go. Make sure that's nice and indexed in there, and try that same technique. Alright, let's weld this guy up. Cool. Yeah, cool. Alright. Looking good. Go on to this next one. Yeah, I'm just making sure I get a good weld puddle going on the tube adapter down there. And when you see me let off a little bit, it's just because it's starting to oxidize. And I want to let it cool a little bit, restart the arc with some filler in there shortly thereafter, and just keep it clean. And then I work around the edge of the hole just to melt all this metal into one another, because you know, I'm not trying to braze it. I don't want to just melt a bunch of filler in there and then, you know, have it crack out later. So it's just kind of a balancing act of keeping it clean and welding everything together. Go ahead and switch over here. And just want to make sure dimples are lined up nicely. This is a nice tight fit. Alright. Let's get some heat in the hole. Opposite side, and I'll let these cool. Do the ones 90 degrees off, and then we'll work on that finish. Before I let them cool, I want to go ahead and cap these guys off with a little extra filler. Alright, cool. Let them cool. Now I'm about to go ahead and weld the other ones now that this has cooled down to ambient temperature. Gonna go ahead and zap this one up. Alright, cool. I'm going to come back in a bit and just kind of give that a cap just so it's not concaved like that. But for now I'm going to let that cool and go ahead to the opposite side. Alright, so that one was giving me a little bit of fuss. I don't know if maybe it's got a little bit of gap on this side and it was just kind of drawing oxygen into the weld, but I had to keep kind of pulsing it and adding filler to get it to fill in nicely. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the other side while that stuff's cooling, and get it situated on this conductive piece of aluminum here. that one was really similar. I was able to keep it from getting too crazy. But I think, you know, this thickness metal and this size of weld really might just require a little bit bigger hole than 1/4 of an inch. This is, I can't remember the last time I've rosette welded anything quite this thick. So it's kind of a different experience for me, but I'm going to work on this one, and hopefully it'll weld in cleanly. Yeah, that one gave me a little bit of fuss too, but I was able to get the tube adapter nice and hot first, so I think overall that should be okay. And now I'm going to go back to some of these I just did, and just kind of give them a cap so that they're nice and topped off. We'll hit the other side and then let this cool and switch to the other link. All right. I'm gonna let this cool off, and then weld this other one. And after all these rosette welds, I'm gonna weld in that V-trench there. Weld the opposite side. Now I'm going to switch to the other end here and do the same deal. I used that piece of filler up, so I'm going to switch to my next piece, which I've got handy right here, fortunately. Tunks all cleaned up. It's time for this last one here. Alright, so I need to just cap off this weld here, make sure it's not concaved and nicely filled in, and figure I'd give you all a close-up of kind of how I do that. So some people kind of make a spiral, and I've tried that. I actually tried that on the other ones, but I like to just finish off with one nice big arc right in the middle. To me, it just seems to kind of even everything out nicely, and I think it'll work pretty well. But I've got everything all welded up now on both ends as far as rosette welds. So now I just need to let these cool, and I'll weld these V trenches in once these aren't really hot. All right, so here's a look inside, and if you look right there past the threads, you can kind of see where the rosette welds have penetrated. Some of them look like that, some of them I'm just seeing color. So, you know, I had some pretty good heat in them, trying to get the light right here, but it's just really thick stuff. I definitely think that stepping the hole size up a bit would be good on this, from these 1/4-inch holes to something a little more. Trying to get the light right on there. You can kind of see, but otherwise I've got all these capped off and letting these cool down, and about to get ready to do the perimeter welds next. But I think a 5/16 or 3/8 hole on something this thick would work better. I haven't done a lot of rosette welding, but just like putting body panels and stuff together, for something this thick, I would have gone a little more, I think. But I think they turned out pretty good. Just letting it cool down for that next step. All right, cool. Let's check out this perimeter weld here. Got the tungsten all cleaned up nice, and just gonna work on welding around. I'll kind of, you know, roll it as I go. But I might reposition eventually. I've left it on 176 amps, and I'm just going to kind of see how that does. So should be good to go. These are cooled down too, so they're just a little warm, but I could totally hold them without a glove, so not too hot or anything. Alright, I just want to check out kind of how this looks. It's looking pretty good. Ultimately, I think I'm going to want a little more filler in there. So I think what I might do is just go over it with a cap pass, just to kind of make it where it's convex instead of concaved. But I'm going to continue around. I think the amperage is good and all that. Alright, cool. So there's my first pass around. I think it's looking pretty good. It seems to be, you know, wetting out nicely. Edges seem to be blended in pretty well. Alright, let's go ahead and check out this other side while that side's cooling. And then I might go for a cat pass. We'll check it out. I was able just to kind of roll it and reposition without having to backtrack this thing and that. Just kind of trying out different things on this particular setup. But I welded all the way around, and it's pretty good. It's got a, you know, pretty serious indentation though, so I want to go ahead and let that cool, and then I'll go over it with a cat pass. Meanwhile, this side seems like it's about cool enough to go over, so I'll give it just a little bit more time, and then we'll do that and check it out. While that one's cooling, I'll go ahead and zap this other one up. Let's check out this cap weld. Stuff's all cooled down, and just gonna go ahead and give it another pass. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start 180 degrees out from where I started the previous pass, just to mitigate out any warpage or anything. But encourage this guy and we'll get started. see how this is doing. It's pretty good. Let me sharpen this tungsten though. Alright, cool. Added a pretty decent amount of filler to that weld. Main objective just kind of being to fix up the kind of concavity from that previous weld and kind of even everything out. It's kind of difficult to keep welds like this aimed because you don't have that V trench, but I think that's pretty good how that turned out. I'm just going to go ahead and just switch sides here and go ahead and do the other side, and then I'll switch to the other link here. Got it ready to go. These guys should have plenty of time to cool down without an issue. Got a little bit of something there. This one. I want to get any impurities off before I start welding here, just to make sure they don't float into the new weld. Alright, cool. See how this does. I'll go ahead and move this forward a little bit. Alrighty. Cool. That's the guy's all welded up. On to the next one. Got a fresh stick of ER70S2. Wiped it all down with acetone, and now it's time to move on to the second link here. Go ahead and weld it up. Alright, cool. Got them all welded up. They're cooling down now. I was able to weld this cap layer pretty evenly. Doesn't really dome up, but it's kind of concaved a lot less. It's really even, so I think that's going to do really well, especially considering just the heft of all these materials. I think they're going to be nice and strong, but regardless, got to let them cool down because they have gotten pretty hot. But looking good. I can't make the uppers until I mock everything up, considering the axle and everything. I just want to make sure I can measure and get the length just right on those uppers. Alternatively, I could probably measure and calculate the length, but I'll just mock everything up and look at pinion angle and everything and just measure and make them at that point. But this is a good step to have accomplished. I'm going towards setting up the rear suspension in the car, and they look really cool. And they are beefy. Those should be some really strong links. Well, I hope y'all enjoy taking a look at the build process on those lower links there. Plenty of rear suspension stuff coming soon, so keep an eye out for those videos. And thanks again for watching and subscribing and liking the videos. Hope to see y'all soon in the next one, and have a nice one. See y'all again soon.